It was a calm afternoon inside the luxurious Aurelia Hotel. A place where marble floors gleamed and crystal chandeliers reflected lives, shaped by privilege rather than hardship. Soft conversations and the clink of fine glassware filled the air. Amid all that elegance stood a timid young waitress named Nora Velen, quietly adjusting her apron as her hands trembled just a little. She had worked there for barely 2 weeks. Unnoticed by guests who rarely acknowledged the people serving them. No one could have guessed that a single moment that day would change her life, and move even the most guarded hearts to tears. If you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Stories like this remind us that the smallest gestures often leave the deepest impact. Nora had never lived loudly. Life had taught her to stay small, to stay quiet. Her father left when she was 12, and her mother worked endless shifts just to survive. At home, silence became her comfort. She spent her evenings learning sign language so she could communicate with her younger brother, Ali, who was born deaf. That language became her refuge, a world shaped by love, patience, and understanding, where words could never hurt. The Aurelia Hotel felt like another universe. It catered to billionaires, diplomats, and heirs who dined beneath golden ceilings. That afternoon Nora was assigned to Table 9. A private reservation for business tycoon Adrian Cole, and his mother, Margaret Cole, a woman for her elegance and quiet grace. Adrian, on the other hand, was famous for his sharp mind and colder reputation. Powerful, brilliant and distant. As Nora approached the table, nerves tightened her chest. Then she noticed something that stopped her. Margaret wasn't answering the waiter's questions. Instead, she smiled gently, reading lips. A discreet hearing aid caught the light, and Nora noticed how Adrian leaned closer to his mother whenever he spoke. Her heart stirred. She recognized that rhythm instantly. The delicate balance of living between sound and silence. Adrian glanced up, impatient, expecting efficiency. But before he could speak, Nora took a slow breath. Then, with trembling but steady hands, she began to sign. "Would you like still or sparkling water?" The world seemed to pause. Margaret's eyes widened. Her hand rose to her chest as emotion flooded her face. Tears shimmered instantly, tears of reticent gratitude and relief. Slowly she signed back, asking if Nora knew sign language. Nora nodded, smiling softly, her pulse racing. Adrian was stunned. For years had watched people overlook his mother. Waiters avoiding her, conversations leaving her behind, every outing carefully managed to shield her from embarrassment. But now across the table, his mother was laughing. Truly laughing, her hands moving freely in conversation. As the meal continued, something rare unfolded. Nora didn't just serve, she connected. She signed each menu option, answered questions, and shared light-hearted gestures that made Margaret's eyes shine with joy. Other guests began to notice. Whispers spread through the dining hall. Adrian didn't care. For the first time in a long while, business meant nothing. He was watching his mother come alive. For Nora the moment carried deeper meaning. Each movement of her hands reminded her of Eli, the brother who used to tug at her sleeve, who passed away 2 years earlier after a long illness. As she signed, grief and love flowed together. Through Margaret, it felt like she was speaking to her brother once more, a final conversation gifted by chance. After the meal, Margaret asked to meet Nora properly. She clasped Nora's hands tightly and signed, "You made me feel seen. You reminded me I'm not alone." Nora's eyes filled with tears as she replied, "You reminded me that love never disappears." The air between them felt sacred. Later, Adrian asked to speak with Nora privately. She expected criticism, maybe a warning for overstepping. Instead, his voice was softer than she imagined. He confessed that his mother had lived with isolation for years, even surrounded by people. And that no one had ever truly met her where she was. He admitted that somewhere between boardrooms and power, he had lost the empathy his mother once taught him. Nora's kindness brought it back. When she spoke of her brother, Adrian understood the depth behind her gestures. Without being asked, he arranged for the hotel to provide sign language training for all staff, in Ali's memory. He also offered Nora a full scholarship to study special education, telling her the world needed people who could bridge silence with compassion. The story spread quickly beyond the hotel. Guests shared it online, and soon it became a symbol of quiet humanity. Proof that no amount of wealth could replace genuine kindness. Margaret returned often, always asking for Nora. Their bond became a living reminder that kindness doesn't need sound to be heard. Weeks later, during a break, Nora stood by the window watching sunlight spill across the city. She thought of Ely and offered a silent thank you. Life still carried loneliness. But moments like this reminded her that love always finds its way back, often through strangers who need it just as much as you do. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. The world needs more stories that show how powerful kindness can be, even when spoken without words. Before you go, tell us in the comments, would you have done what Nora did if you were in her place?